And as homeowners burned by the housing crash prepare to try their luck in today's market, how will that impact the housing sector? Rochelle Akufo spoke to Michael Orr. He's the director of the Center for Real Estate Theory and Practice at Arizona State University. And she began by asking him how big the wave of returning homeowners could get.
It's really just starting right now because the foreclosure wave, it commenced in 2008, but it didn't really hit a peak for another 2 years, and it was still pretty strong in 2012. So if you add 7 years onto that, it's really 2015 to 2019. We're going to see those people who have got their credit repaired coming back into the housing market, and the only question is how motivated are they to leave rentals and own homes again.
And we are seeing people a bit more cautious, perhaps, especially with millennials choosing to rent versus own. What sort of risks do you think that these people, as they come back into the housing market, what sort of risks do you think they could pose?
Well, I think the lenders are now in a completely different frame of mind. So it takes a great deal more effort and documentation to get approved for a loan than it did in, say, 2005. So the risk is being minimized. In fact, the quality of loans since 2009 have been unusually high, and defaults and foreclosures are now, at least in Arizona where I'm working, they're at unusually low levels. So I think the risk is not very great because we've got so many procedures now in place to check people's credit and their history. There's always going to be a few people where something unexpected happened. They have some sort of medical crisis or other unexpected event that could throw them into foreclosure. But it's not going to be just for the straightforward reason that they lied on their application.
Do you think these safeguards go far enough?
Frankly, I think they go a little too far. That's often the case. You know, we had too little restrictions in place between sort of 2002 and 2006. Now we've really gone over the top in terms of the amount of documentation and regulations. We could probably ease off a little bit and get back to normal, and the market would be a little healthier. So I don't feel that we've got a strong risk of another inflationary cycle and bubble forming in housing with the current regulations in place.
And as we look at the current state of the U.S. housing market, how healthy would you say it is?
Overall, it's in a reasonably healthy state. Probably the biggest issue is a shortage of supply. We were overbuilding for several years back 2003 through 2007, but we've now been building far fewer homes than normal for a very long time, and the population, at least in Arizona, has grown quite a bit, and for the country as a whole it's grown. So we probably have a significant shortage of housing units, whether for rent or for purchase.
And as we shift gears, we're going to turn to the Fed. Interest rate hikes are coming, perhaps later this year and perhaps a few more in early 2016. How do you think that that's going to affect the housing market?
Well, I think everybody's prepared for it. You know, it's not going to be a surprise. It does affect what people can afford, but it doesn't actually determine whether they decide to buy a house or not. Well, a bigger factor is actually the degree to which lenders approve or disapprove applications. And they really have a control over what percentage of applications get approved. And that I think we're seeing a slight easing in the approval rate. So we're actually getting more people through, probably because, not because standards are lowering, but because more people are getting improvements in their credit scores.
What sort of advice would you give to potential borrowers?
Well, the best time to buy a home was about 2011 because they were a lot cheaper then. I would say this time is going to be a better time than in the next few years because the supply situation is getting more difficult, which means you could be competing with other buyers to a greater extent over the next couple of years as more people come from that foreclosure wave.